Here are the steps I want you to follow right now. Step number one, you need to present your startup to the lender. See, the whole thing is you have to introduce yourself, right? You have to introduce your startup because you have a clear idea about your startup, but your lender has no idea. Think about it. They're just a stranger, just waiting, just looking to have a better understanding of what you do. So, boss, I want you to take the time here because a lot of startup founders, they actually get it wrong. They get this phase really wrong. So you want to take the time to present yourself as rosy as possible, to present your startup as rosy as possible to the lender. What does that mean? It means that there are a few things you have to do. First, a business plan. I don't care what you're doing. Listen, man, if anybody tells you a business plan is not important, that person is lying to you. They're lying to your face. They're trying to razzle dazzle you, trying to, you'll get your loan denied if you don't have a business plan. You got to have a business plan. That's why we always say on this show, hey, listen, it's one of those important documents where you want to actually hire someone if you have no idea or no capability yourself to write it. See, a business plan is not something you learn in 2 days or 3 days. And please do not download it for me. Those cheap ass templates from the internet, trying to really download a cheap ass business template and trying to customize it. I'm just going to change the logo. I will change the names, whatever. Boss, stop that. Okay. If you're doing that right now, I want you to stop that. I want you to hire someone. It doesn't cost a lot of cash. $100, $200. I'm sure you have that. Hire someone online. You can hire someone on Fiverr, on Upwork, on TopTal. Listen, if you need places where you can find someone to write a business plan for you, just drop the comments below. I'll certainly let you know. Okay. So you want to talk about your legal structure. Are you an LLC? Is your startup an LLC? A C corporation, a partnership, a limited liability company, a limited liability partnership, that is LP. Okay, you want to have your projected financial statements. Why do you need projected financial statements? You have to tell your story to the lender, and you need to have a compelling story, right? Because the whole thing is the lender doesn't know you. You know your business, your business model, but the lender has no idea of who you are and what you intend to do. So have financial projections. You want to talk about the sector viability. Is your sector viable? You want to present your EIN, especially the letter from the IRS, right? Your employer identification number. And you also want to talk about regulatory compliance in general. So do you have the proper business licenses and permits? Do you have the proper whatever, are you insured? If you are in a sector that requires insurance, make sure that you have the proper insurance. Second thing you need to do here is you need to explain why you need financing. And by the way, boss, welcome back to the show. I really appreciate having you here. We're having a conversation about startup business loan, EIN only, quick approval, little paperwork. If you want to have little paperwork, if you don't want to be bothered, you don't want the lender to ask too many questions. It's really important that you explain to the lender why you need the money in the first place. And you cannot just underestimate the importance, the magnitude of this specific phase here. So when we talk about startup financing, there are several reasons, and you have to understand there are some reasons that actually win the approval of business lenders real fast, and there are some reasons that they're like, listen, this is just too light. This is not a significant reason to get a business loan, especially for your startup. And lenders consequently they will actually deny your loan application. So there are some reasons that are valid, and again, we're speaking about 40 years of studying this, so we have a clear idea. We know. Okay, so you can get a startup business loan using EIN only to buy new equipment. Okay, this can be machinery. This could be office furniture. Okay, this could be also a vehicle, for example. You can use a business loan to borrow a small amount of money for, let's say, for operational objectives. Okay, in some cases you might get a micro loan, so you can actually get a loan from Kiva, for example. You have something also called the Women's Microfinance Initiative. So, but those are smaller loans, but this could be a route for you if you are trying to borrow less than $50,000. Okay, so you also have a network called Accion, ACCC, ACCION, Action. And they are really good also in providing, I think, cheaper nonprofit loans, business loans, that is. You can actually get a cash to actually establish. You can get a startup business loan to establish another business. In other words, you can have an existing startup and trying to start up another business because you realize that either that sector is really profitable or has the potential to be profitable, or you would like to expand your business into other areas. You can get a loan to pay for day-to-day operations. So that's what we call working capital loan. Okay, so this is a short-term loan used to cover daily expenses like rent and payroll. You can also have you can borrow money on as needed basis. That's what we call a business line of credit for your startup. So you have a diverse constellation of reasons why you might need a loan. The third thing I want you to do, boss, if you're trying to get a startup business loan using EIN only, quick approval and little paperwork, is to check your eligibility. I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We're having a conversation about startup business loans in general. How do you get them real quick, especially with using EIN only, okay? Now, you need to check your eligibility. Why is it important? Because every lender has their own directives, they have their own requirements, their own guidelines when it comes to business loan approval, especially for startups, okay? So if you don't study the eligibility requirements, you're not going to be in a position where you can actually win, because I want you to win. That's what I care about, boss. I want you to be out there, to get out there and just have a powerful application that will actually win you the loan that you need and deserve, especially using EIN only. So it's important that you know exactly what the lender is asking for. For example, some lenders have requirements for credit scores, personal credit scores, and business credit scores. Even if you want to apply for a business loan using EIN only, some lenders still want to make sure that you have minimum credit score requirements. Why? Because they want to make sure that the founders behind this startup idea, are financially responsible themselves. They're not going to account for the credit score in the final decision, but the credit score at the personal level participates in giving the lender a better idea about the individuals behind this startup. Some lenders might ask you for collateral, and when they ask for collateral, they're talking about collateral at the business level. Okay, so if you want to get a startup business loan using EIN only, they'll ask you for collateral, and collateral could be some kind of assets that you currently have. So your startup may have right now a business vehicle, and they may have some office furniture that you are capitalizing over the long run. So capitalizing means that you are actually amortizing this asset over several years. So you actually spend money. You acquired the office furniture, but you have not expensed the full amount in year one. So some lenders also have requirements for annual revenue or projected revenue, and also time in business. So even though you're a startup, some lenders might say, listen, we want you to be in business for at least 6 months or 3 months. So if you're a brand new, you might not qualify right away. You will have to wait a little bit longer to qualify for the time and business requirements. The next thing I want you to do, boss, is to compare business lending options. See, the whole thing here is that if you're trying to get a startup business loan using EIN only, quick approval and little paperwork, you need to understand there are several players who are actually participating in this game that we call business credit. And it's really important for you as a startup founder who is looking for a loan to know exactly the pros and cons of each player. So when we talk about the different business lending options, you have four. In our research, we have four players who have different strategies. Player number one, you have the online lenders. So online lenders, they give you fast cash. they are generally amenable to startups. Okay, so they don't see you as really risky. So if you have a startup, you stand a good chance of getting a loan by contacting business lenders who are primarily online lenders. Okay, so for example, you have Base to Credit, you have Lendio, which is a marketplace. You have a constellation of players. So that's for online lenders, right? And you also have alternative lenders. So that's the second category. So alternative lenders, they are like you have Kalamata Group, you have those are players that actually they don't care about risk that much. In other words, they're more comfortable with risk. They're not risk averse. They're risk takers. But they're risk takers, but they will actually charge you high. They will charge you a high APR, and they will want you to repay the loan more frequently. So instead of the monthly payments you're accustomed to when it comes to banks and credit unions, they'll ask you for a weekly repayment, for example, or a bi-weekly repayment. But those are kind of cool too. I'm just trying to tell you there are opportunities out there. Okay. So sorry about that. So the third thing I want you to really think about here is that the third element is that you have traditional banks and credit unions. So traditional banks and credit unions, they also play an important role when it comes to helping you out. But the thing is that you are not likely to get a loan from them because they're really risk averse. And the fourth category here is the micro lenders. So micro lenders, they will actually give you money. I mean, they usually are nonprofit organizations that lend to applicants, but you can get less than $50,000. You can get a loan using EIN only, not a problem with them. Step number 5, boss, you need to gather the required documents. So just want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We're having a conversation about startup business loan, EIN only, quick approval, little paperwork. How do you get it? How do you actually do everything right so that you get the loan that you need and deserve, right? And we're not talking about, small amounts here. We're speaking about massive amounts. You want to get a loan that is consequential so that you can actually implement the strategy that you have thought about. Okay, so you want to gather the required documents. So the thing here is that when you're thinking about having a startup business loan and you want to have EIN only, quick approval, there are some documents that the lender will ask for. For example, they'll ask for personal tax returns. And if your startup has been in business for, let's say, 6 months or 9 months, and it has been 1 year already, 1 year in terms of the fiscal period, they might ask for the business tax return. Let me rephrase that. Let's say your startup started in July of a year, right? And you're applying for a loan in February of the following year. That means that for the previous year, you would have filed a tax return because you would have been in business for 6 months, right? July to December, that's 6 months. Okay, July 1st to December 31st. And so you would have actually filed a tax return. So that's why that's the case where the lender might ask to see your business tax return. They'll ask to see business licenses, articles of organization or incorporation, personal and business bank statements, profit and loss statements, financial statements in terms of balance sheet, cash flow statements, and your statement of owner's equity. The whole thing can be projected. You know why? Because you are a startup. You don't have actual documents yet. Not actual documents, actual data. Because you haven't been in business long enough to generate actual data. So you probably don't have actual revenue, but you can actually show projected revenue. You also need to have a business plan. Okay, a business plan. If you have signed business leases and other contractual agreements with third parties, the lender might want to see that too. And the thing is, if you're not sure what documents are needed in general, you want to contact the lender before applying. The next thing I want you to do here, I want you to submit your application. See, the whole thing is you might be thinking, well, I've done all the work here and I want to submit the application. And when we talk about submitting the application, you just don't just go to the nearest branch and just drop the application, or just go online and just ask them to, you ask the lender what kind of information that you need and you just submit the application. No, you got to take the time to study the whole process. And we always advise our viewers and our business clients for that matter to contact the lender. You want to be in a constant conversation with the lender. That's what we call the con. You want to have a constant convo with the lender. You want to talk to them about what kind of documents you are gathering. You want to talk to them about your chances of approval, your odds of approval. Because the thing is, you don't want to be surprised, right? Like, for example, if they're asking you to provide information about your business, what type of information are they asking you? What type of, are they asking for your business name, your business address, your DBA, your business phone number? You got to ask them that. If they're asking you for your social, considering that you are doing this on an EIN only basis, why do they need your social? Are they going to do a hard pull? Are they planning to actually do a soft pull? And we always tell clients, if you want to apply for a business loan using EIN only, you might want to freeze your credit score, your credit reports, right? You might want to freeze your TransUnion, your Equifax, and Experian, just in case. And the lender might ask you while you're submitting your application what you need the money for. Okay, the loan purpose, the desired loan amounts. Because again, you might want to, you could probably start and say, listen, I want $100,000. But after talking to the lender and after having several conversations about your own business, the business model, the industry you're in, your own personal situation, your family situation, the other founders in the startup, you might actually you can say, you know what, I want to borrow a lower amount. In other words, you might want to dial down your monetary expectations. So instead of $100,000, you can say, you know what, I think I'm going to go with 75 grand or 50 grand. And this could boost your chances of being approved anyway. The lender might ask you for your EIN and also your annual revenue in terms of projection. The next thing you need to do if you want to get a startup business loan using EIN only, quick approval. You want to plan your comeback if your loan is denied. See, the whole thing is that you could do everything. You can do everything. You can apply the best logic, the best processes, whatever. And the lender might not just approve your loan. Those things happen. It has nothing to do about you. It has nothing to do with you. It ain't your fault. Okay? You're trying to do your best, but things happen. Maybe the lender is having problems or they do not lend to your specific industry anymore. Lenders are constantly changing their strategies. They're shifting their operational goals, okay? So what you want to do if you were denied a business loan, especially for a startup, you want to find out why you were denied that loan in the first place. Because remember, you wanted to have the business loan using EIN only. So is it because of the EIN? In other words, does the lender want you to apply using your social, for example? You want to obtain copies of both your business credit reports and personal credit reports. So even though you're a startup, maybe you have a business credit report. So you want to contact Dun & Bradstreet to see if actually you have a paydebt score attached to your business. This could be an error. This could be, let's say, a similar sounding company that actually you're actually suffering the drawbacks of that company that has a poor credit score on the business side. And also you want to have copies of your personal credit score. You want to double check all business loan documentation. Did you provide all the documentation they required? All the paperwork was your paperwork complete, right? That's why if you do it right, normally it should be complete. That's why I said you want to be in a constant convo with the lender, so that there are no surprises. Everything is clear. You have a clear idea about what really happened. Okay, and prepare before reapplying for a startup business loan. So after you studied all the requirements, you want to take the time to prepare, gather your forces before reapplying. Okay, or you can even speak with a business credit professional, somebody who can actually help you out. I mean, you don't have money right now, but listen, if you have a business credit professional, their job is to get you the loan that you need. And the way they get paid is they get paid by the lender. So the lender actually pays them, compensates them. Usually it's a percentage of the loan amount, but really it's a win-win-win for everybody, because a business credit professional wants to get the commission. You want to get the money for your startup, and the business lender wants to get the business. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate that. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about startup business loan, EIN, or a quick approval, and the steps you need to follow if you're trying to get a massive loan amount. So I want you to present your startup to the lender. You want to explain why you need financing. You want to check your eligibility. You want to compare business lending options. You want to gather the required documents. You want to submit your applications, and you want to plan your comeback if your loan is ever denied. Thank you. God bless you. I'll see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.